Imagine a world where the Roman Empire never fell. A world where colossal arches and ancient roads still connect continents and Rome's influence pulses through every corner of civilization. What kind of world would that be? How would our lives, our languages, and our laws be different? Today we're going to walk back through history and explore this intriguing possibility. Together, we'll step into a world of Rome and uncover the choices that could have changed its fate. Not through sheer luck, but through bold reforms in leadership, military strength, economic resilience, and cultural unity across its vast territories. We'll see how these choices, these turning points, could have forged a legacy that endures even to this day. But why does this matter? Because in these stories of what could have been, we uncover the heart of history, a tale of choices, consequences, and the power of human resilience. Today, we'll consider how a different path might have changed the world as we know it. So join us as we journey back to Rome's height and explore 6 defining choices Rome could have made to create a new path forward, a path that reshapes its legacy, and perhaps ours as well. Turning Point 1. Succession and Leadership Stability. One of the biggest challenges Rome faced was its lack of stable leadership. Emperors often gained power through violence, corruption, or favoritism, which led to civil wars and cycles of instability. But during the time of the 5 good emperors, Rome found a different path. From Nerva to Marcus Aurelius, each emperor adopted a capable successor based on merit, not on birthright. This created a stable, prosperous period for Rome. But in 180 AD, when Marcus Aurelius passed, he broke this tradition by naming his biological son, Commodus, as his successor. Commodus's rule marked a disastrous shift. Known for his extravagance and self-indulgence, Commodus focused more on personal pleasure than on the empire's welfare. He held elaborate games, spent massive amounts of Rome's treasury, and quickly gained a reputation for cruelty. Instead of following his father's example of thoughtful leadership, Commodus saw himself as almost godlike, even portraying himself as Hercules. The result? Commodus's misrule destabilized Rome. He alienated the Senate, disregarded the needs of the people, and neglected the military. In fact, his neglect and obsession with luxury triggered one of the bloodiest periods of civil strife in Roman history, known as the Year of the 5 Emperors. That's a different story, but this was one of the first major dominoes to fall that began the empire's gradual decline. But what if Marcus Aurelius had chosen differently? What if instead of passing power to Commodus, he had selected a trusted and experienced leader? Someone like his general Claudius Papianus. Papianus was a seasoned military leader and Marcus's own son-in-law. Known for his loyalty and pragmatism, he played a crucial role in Rome's northern defenses. He wasn't from the traditional Roman elite, but he understood the needs of the empire. Imagine a Rome where Pompeianus or someone with similar qualities takes the throne. In this alternate timeline, Marcus sets a strong precedent enforcing the idea that Rome's leaders should be chosen based on merit, not birthright. This one change could ripple through Rome's future. A capable successor like Pompeianus could prevent civil war, restore stability, and keep Rome's resources focused on growth rather than internal conflict. Under his rule, the empire's leadership could maintain stability of the 5 good emperors, keeping Rome united and resilient. By prioritizing stability and leadership, Rome could avoid the cycles of chaos that historically plagued it. But leadership is only one part of the puzzle. Next, let's explore how reforms in Rome's economic policies and agriculture might have led to even more lasting changes. Turning Point 2. Economic and Agricultural Reforms. Like any powerful empire, Rome needed a strong economy to fund its military, infrastructure, and public services. By the late empire, Rome's economy faced serious challenges. Heavy reliance on slave labor, depleted farmland, and increasing taxes on citizens placed a growing strain on the empire. One of the biggest issues was overworked land. As Rome expanded, so did its agricultural demands, leading to depleted soil and falling crop yields. Rome became increasingly dependent on grain exports, especially from Egypt. making the empire vulnerable to supply disruptions. In this alternate timeline, Rome addresses these economic challenges head-on with sustainable agricultural practices. Imagine a Rome where leaders focus on long-term farming techniques like crop rotation, soil enrichment, and balanced land distribution. These practices would not only prevent soil exhaustion, but also stabilize food production. Beyond farming, Rome's economy depended heavily on taxes, especially from the provinces. But high taxes placed a heavy burden on the poor, leading to resentment and even rebellion. Imagine an alternate timeline where Rome institutes tax reforms that distribute the tax burden more fairly, reducing strain on the lower classes while ensuring the government has stable revenue. Another reform could address Rome's reliance on slave labor. Imagine if Rome shifted from a slave-dependent economy to a model that promotes small landowners and paid laborers. This shift would encourage productivity and innovation as free workers are more invested in their work and could drive economic growth. With these changes, Rome would be less reliant on imports and could maintain a stable economy. A steady food supply would support population growth, while fairer taxes and economic stability would help prevent the civil unrest that historically plagued the empire. By reforming its economy, Rome creates a solid foundation for everything else, from a loyal professional military to improved infrastructure and public health. Next, we'll explore how this economic stability enables a strong, unified defense system. Turning Point 3: Military Reforms and Border Defense. With a stable economy based on sustainable agriculture and fairer taxes, Rome now has the resources it needs to create a professional, defense-focused military. Instead of relying on costly expansions and mercenaries, the empire can invest in a standing army that's loyal to Rome itself. Historically, Rome's vast borders left it vulnerable. The empire was spread thin, defending against threats along the Rhine, Danube, and even in the east. To solve this, Rome often recruited foreign mercenaries, soldiers with little loyalty to the empire. In our alternate timeline, Rome uses its renewed economic strength to build a professional army focused on defending its territory rather than expanding it. This defensive military relies on natural borders like rivers and mountains, supported by strategically placed fortresses, watchtowers, and rapid response units. Another essential reform is rotation. Instead of letting generals gain power and influence over their troops, Rome institutes a rotation system. Commanders and soldiers rotate between posts, preventing any single general from amassing too much loyalty or power. This way, the army remains loyal to Rome, not individual generals. With the professionalized, loyal military dedicated to defense, Rome can now secure its borders effectively. This shift allows the empire to avoid costly expansions, keeping resources focused on protecting its people and maintaining stability. And the benefits extend beyond the military. By focusing on defense rather than conquest, Rome preserves resources and can invest in infrastructure, public health, and civic pride. The empire becomes a stable, self-sustaining powerhouse, less vulnerable to external threats and internal conflict. With stable leadership, a sustainable economy, and a professional military, Rome's foundation is stronger than ever. But these changes alone wouldn't be enough to sustain the empire. Next, let's look at how Rome could address internal corruption and build a more accountable government. What do you think? Could Rome rotating generals really stop them from amassing power? Would any of these reforms help save the Roman Empire? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this type of stuff, please consider giving us a like and subscribing for more content. Turning Point 4: Political Corruption and Accountability. Rome's vast empire required an equally vast bureaucracy to manage its provinces, collect taxes, and enforce laws. But as Rome grew, so did corruption within its government. Many provincial governors and officials used their positions for personal gain, collecting bribes and exploiting local populations. Over time, this corruption weakened Rome from within, eroding trust between the people and the state. One of the biggest challenges was the lack of oversight. With territories spread across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, it was nearly impossible for Rome to monitor every official. The result? A system where governors and military leaders could act with near impunity, enriching themselves at the expense of the people. But in our alternate timeline, Rome implements reforms to create a more accountable, transparent government. Imagine a system where officials are regularly audited, governors have term limits, and where public service is rewarded based on merit rather than connections. In this version of Rome, an anti-corruption body, perhaps composed of trusted senators and respected military leaders, oversees provincial administration. Officials are regularly rotated to prevent long-term abuses of power and are held accountable for their actions. Another reform can involve promoting local officials based on performance. Instead of powerful families controlling appointments, capable leaders from different provinces are given opportunities to rise. This way, provincial populations would feel more represented, and local leaders would have a stake in the empire's success. By establishing a fair and transparent system, Rome could prevent the resentment and rebellion that often arose from unfair treatment. Citizens across the empire would feel that the government was working for them, not against them. This renewed trust could help unify Rome's vast, diverse territories under a shared commitment to justice. In this alternate timeline, Rome's government is no longer a corrupt machine benefiting a few. Instead, it's a model of fair governance, strengthening civic pride and loyalty among its people. With a more accountable bureaucracy, Rome can direct resources towards essential needs, reduce regional tensions, and maintain a stable society. With stable leadership, a sustainable economy, a professional military, and a trustworthy government, Rome has addressed some of its greatest challenges. But there's more to an enduring empire than just infrastructure and defense. Next, let's explore how Rome could strengthen civic pride and cultural integration across its diverse population. Turning Point 5: Civic Pride and Cultural Integration. The Roman Empire was incredibly diverse. At its height, Rome ruled over people from Britain to North Africa, from Spain to the Middle East. Each region had its own customs, languages, and beliefs, which made it challenging to unify everyone under one Roman identity. Historically, Rome allowed these diverse cultures to retain many of their customs, but this often led to a divide between Roman citizens and provincial populations. Many of the provinces saw themselves as subjects, not truly Roman, which made it harder for Rome to build lasting loyalty across its territories. But what if Rome had fostered a stronger, shared identity? In our alternate timeline, Rome takes steps to promote a sense of Romanitas, a unified Roman culture that respects local traditions while encouraging a shared pride in being Roman. One way Rome could do this is by offering more pathways to citizenship. Historically, the Edict of Caracalla granted citizenship to all free men in 212 AD. But in this scenario, Rome starts earlier, extending citizenship, civic rights to those who contribute to the empire, such as soldiers, local officials, and merchants. Imagine how this change would impact Rome. By allowing more people to feel part of the empire, Rome could foster loyalty and increase civic engagement. Citizens across the empire would have a stake in Rome's success from Alexandria to Gaul. Another way Rome could foster unity is through education. In this alternate timeline, Rome establishes schools in major cities that teach Roman history, language, and philosophy, while respecting local customs. Imagine children across the empire learning Latin alongside their native languages, gaining a shared understanding of what it means to be Roman. Public events, festivals, and religious celebrations also play a role in strengthening cultural unity. Rome could hold empire-wide celebrations of major Roman holidays, encouraging provinces to join in while honoring their own traditions. This participation would bring people together, blending Roman customs with local culture. By promoting a unified Roman identity and encouraging a sense of pride in being part of Rome, the empire becomes more than just a collection of territories. It becomes a community, where people from different backgrounds feel connected by a shared sense of purpose and pride. In this alternate reality, cultural integration and civic pride create a loyal, engaged population. People from all corners of the empire see themselves as Romans first, willing to support and defend the empire because they believe in it. With unified leadership, a strong economy, a professional military, an accountable government, and a proud, loyal population, Rome's foundation is more solid than ever. But there's one last crucial piece to consider: Rome's environment and resources. Let's look at how sustainable resource management could help the empire thrive for centuries. Turning Point 6: Environmental Sustainability and Resource Management. Rome's rapid expansion brought wealth, power, and resources, but it also led to environmental challenges. Deforestation, soil depletion, and overused farmland took a toll on the land itself. Over time, this environmental strain weakened Rome's ability to support its population and left the empire vulnerable to crop failures and famine. One of Rome's biggest environmental problems was deforestation. Trees were cut down to build ships, homes, and public works, while firewood was burned to fuel daily life. Over time, forests near major cities disappeared, leading to soil erosion, decreased water quality, and increased flooding. Additionally, the Roman agriculture system relied on intensive farming. As crops were planted repeatedly on the same land, soil nutrients were depleted. This led to lower crop yields, forcing Rome to rely on imported grain, particularly from Egypt, to feed its people. Dependency on a single region for food created a significant vulnerability. But what if Rome had implemented sustainable practices to protect its environment? In this alternate timeline, Rome adopts agricultural methods like crop rotation, where different crops are grown in sequence to replenish soil nutrients. By alternating crops, the land remains productive, reducing the risk of famine and allowing Rome to maintain food independence. Imagine a Rome that prioritizes reforestation. In this version of the empire, leaders encourage planting new trees to replace those cut down, especially near major cities. This reforestation prevents soil erosion, improves water retention, and creates a sustainable source of wood for future needs. Water management also becomes a priority. By constructing additional aqueducts and water channels, Rome can ensure a steady water supply, reduce drought risks, and support agriculture across all of its provinces. Imagine sophisticated irrigation systems stretching across the empire, helping farmers make the most of available water resources. In this alternate history, Rome's commitment to environmental stewardship creates a self-sustaining resource base. By protecting its forests, rotating its crops, and managing water carefully, Rome preserves its land for generations, reducing dependency on imports and improving food security. With these sustainable practices, Rome can continue to feed its population, maintain strong trade networks, and support its cities. By respecting the land, Rome avoids many of the environmental crises that historically contributed to its decline. In this timeline, Rome's leaders understand that a healthy environment is essential to a strong empire. Sustainable resource management becomes part of Rome's long-term strategy, supporting its people, economy, and military. Today we've explored 6 major turning points that could have changed the course of Roman history. From stable leadership and a professional army, to sustainable resources and cultural unity. These reforms lay a foundation for a thriving Roman Empire, one that overcomes the challenges that historically led to its fall. But what if this strong foundation wasn't just a thought experiment? Imagine a Rome that stands resilient for centuries, its influence stretching far beyond the ancient world. What if this alternate timeline leads to a Roman Empire that shapes not only the medieval period, but the modern world as we know it? In Part 2, we'll journey into this world, exploring what a Roman-led Europe might look like in the Middle Ages and beyond. How would this Rome influence politics, technology, and global exploration? How might the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, or even modern borders look different if Rome had endured? Join us next time, where we'll dive into the ripple effects of a surviving Roman Empire. The possibilities are endless, and the world as we know it might look completely different. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed exploring what might have been, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'd also love to hear your thoughts or ideas on this what if scenario in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video.